What's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg, and this is a very spooky Halloween chance encounter.
Hey, what's up? I'm Dan Fredenberg. I'm a commercial real estate guy. I'm from the internet. We're seeing more properties like this being built in front of a house that's going to be torn down soon.
I understand that there are power lines that are getting kind of close.
What's up again? This is Dan Fredenberg, and that there is a commercial real estate building.
All right, I'm joined today with Abdul, and I didn't catch how to pronounce your last name. Was it Ciise or something?
Ciise.
Ciise. Okay, far out. Cool. And it's very exciting having you here today, Abdul. But I gotta tell you, today we are joined by my very favorite audience member. And why is my favorite audience member here? It's because this is a chance encounter, and this is where I interview people who are in the commercial real estate space. Specifically, we're talking buyers, sellers, investors, syndicators, all that kind of stuff. And you may ask yourself, why would I want to make a show about this? Well, if you've ever heard of private off-market deals, they're sometimes called 506B deals, you'll find out that you need to have a documented prior-substantive relationship so that you can show the SEC that you knew each other before you get involved in a deal. So that means you have to know their level of sophistication, appetite for risk, and their core competencies. And that's what we're finding out. And the benefit for you is you learn how to effectively communicate on the subject of commercial real estate. But before we get too far into your business, Abdul, do you want to say a thing or two about yourself first?
Where do we start? Guys, it's pretty simple to the audience members that are watching and to Dan. Um, if ever you want to make money, you're gonna have to do some uncomfortable things. You're gonna have to take some risks. You're gonna have to do some things you've never done. And this is pretty much what I've done my whole life, from starting my YouTube channel at the age of 17 and creating over 1,000 pieces of content on YouTube and growing my platform, and then starting an Instagram page, and then starting a LinkedIn. And it's like, no matter what you do, or however you want to live your life, it's always going to take risk, and you might as well just embrace that risk and go at it. That's the only way to live.
Right on, far out. So let's get to the first segment, though. It is the 5 distinct motivations, and I talked to a whole whack of different commercial real estate players. And I want to say one thing first, though. I got to say, but wait, check your rate. Hey, Abdul, I don't know if you know how to do this, but maybe you can see through the camera and into the user's device, but down there might be this hideous subscribe button that maybe they should, like smash or something like that. Okay, it's a stupid joke, but I do it in every episode, so we'll keep. All right. The 5 distinct motivations. I've spoken to all sorts of different commercial real estate players, and the fact is, if you're making these acquisitions, it takes months. There are plenty of risks involved, and you're going to have to find out why is it that this person is going to follow through on these deals and stick around for the whole process. And I found that even though everybody has their own unique why, I found that these 5 categories sum them up pretty well. And the first one of those is preservation of purchasing power. What's that all about? Well, some people, they already have a portfolio of assets, and the way that they make ends meet is from the proceeds of ownership. And if that's the case, why would they bother making yet another acquisition? Well, there are a few different scenarios. One is if inflation is rearing its ugly head, then your purchasing power of the cash flow, it's not going to go as far. So it's going to be time to make another acquisition. But other than that, the only other time they're going to get involved is if there's an asset crash or a distressed property that they can pick up at a steep discount, then it'll actually make sense to do that. And I'm not there yet. What I'm up to is I'm trading time for wealth. That's a bit subtle for some people, especially a lot of youngsters. But what basically the breakdown is I've got a background in CRM technology and building online funnels for people. And since 2014, I've been doing that for real estate people. And the thing that hit me is when I was watching my boss flipping 10 houses a month, and I was realizing that I was paying more in tax than anybody as a high wage earner, high salary earner. It made me go, it's like, well, I should pivot. I should figure out how to get rewarded in the form of deployed capital, AKA equity, instead of paying half of it off to the tax man. So that's what I'm up to. But that's a little too subtle for some people. Some people, they're more just focused on earning back their schedule, taking control of that time freedom. And maybe that means they want to fast track their retirement, but maybe it just means they want to work fewer months per year or fewer weeks per month or something like that. But basically long term, they want to dial it back. And that's not everybody, though. You get plenty of people that are fueled by ambition. They want to buy their entire hometown. They want that generational wealth to make sure that their great grandchildren never have to hold a day job. And that's fantastic on your GP team because they're going to be hustling into their 90s. Very similar to this last fifth group, which is the people who have picked a sector of society, or maybe it's animals, maybe it's the environment, maybe they want to send people to space. But regardless of what it is, they figured out, oh, shucks, there's a financial component to this if they want to make a big impact. And that's why they're making these commercial acquisitions. So Abdul, as far as these 5 different motivations go, what combination of those would you say describes you best?
I to make a long story short, I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan right now, and there is this big ass hotel building. It's called the JW Marriott. And at the top, it says JW Marriott on it. And every single night, that little sign glows. And one day I was just walking through walking through town, and I was like, why isn't there a building with my last name on it? You know? So I definitely wanna own my own city, but then obviously um help people who need it. And I think there's only so much ambition I'm gonna have after I reach or after I own my own city, for example, right? And then after that, it's like, all right, I own the city. What now? What else am I gonna do? And I think there's gonna be an endless crowd of people who are always gonna need help. And so when all of my personal goals are achieved, then the rest of my life is just dedicated to helping people.
I love it. I love it. But of course, one of the problems about any business, including commercial real estate, is that there are risks involved. And if you've ever been involved in a 506B deal, then the securities attorney should have insisted that the issuers have you fill out this questionnaire. It's just filled with really invasive questions like about your finances. And when I was going through this questionnaire, though, there was one question that jumped out at me as I didn't really think it achieved what I think it was trying to achieve. And it was the question about tolerance for risk. And so I've got my own version, and it's a fill in the blanks question. There are many popular investment asset classes, but I think blank is too risky. What's too risky for you, Abdul? It could be inside real estate, it could be outside of real estate.
I think I'm gonna choose the outside real estate avenue. There are sports cards. I think if you're investing in sports cards, number one, the odds of actually getting a card that gives you the amount of return, a substantial return, and then finding somebody to buy it and continuously doing that over and over and over again is incredibly time consuming when you could have other avenues that you could dedicate your time to that don't have as much risk and can create better returns and can give you a lot more skills in terms of actually building a business that's sustainable.
I love it. And it's not like roofs over people's heads where you always
Yeah.
need it, that and food, like gobbling up like a wonderful subscribe sandwich. That thing always That thing always just kills me, but it's the thing that tells me it's time to pull out the Dan Does Deals Commercial Core Competency Cube, and you can get your own copy of this for free from dandoesdeals.com. And like a complete dummy, I didn't even ask for your contact information. You just click on the thing and then you can just print it out and you can like glue it together. It's just like being in kindergarten and stuff. But it has the 6 different roles in a commercial real estate deal. And the reason why I make it so easy to get your free copy is because I want you to actually print it out and practice explaining this stuff, because anybody who wants to make commercial real estate part of their career, it's going to hinge on being able to explain this stuff effectively. So that's why I make it so available. And the bonus is that you will be able to know how my guest will fit into these deals, because in every episode I take 2 minutes and explain all 6 sides. So let's go ahead and do that. The repositioner is an acquisition person. They're finding the deals and they're doing a bunch of paperwork. And you might want to ask, it's like, well, what are these repositioners doing with this paperwork? It sounds terribly exciting. Anyway, they're doing the math, and the fancy word for that is underwriting the deal. They're figuring out, first of all, is this property even making the amount of money that this broker or seller is claiming it is? Because might not be. But the repositioner is called a repositioner because they're figuring how can they change how this property is run so that it makes more money than under the previous ownership. And the weird part of that is they need an extensive network of financiers. So what's a financier? Well, it's somebody who's not a GP, they're not a general partner, they're only dealing with paper and money. And some financiers are like fund managers, they set up their own funds. They basically are in charge of those investor relations. But you have to have more than that going on if you want to be on the GP team. But the reason why these relationships with these financiers are so important to the repositioners is because if they can secure a more advantageous loan, that goes straight to the profitability of the building. So having a big network is super important for that. But the repositioner, most frequently, when they're thinking, how do I reposition the property? They're first going to think, how can I stop those Benjamins from going down the toilets? And that's part of operations right there. And of course, there's more to operations than just unclogging toilets and collecting rent and mowing lawns and shoveling snow if you're in some frozen abyss like we are. But you got to stop those Benjamins from going down the toilet. And if you want to be on the GP team, you need to have some sort of asset management part. And the part that I bring to the table for my GP teams is between the automation background that I have and mass emailing. The other thing is the marketing side, which the important part for that is that even if you do outsource the operations to a third party, then if you have a vacancy rate problem, then somebody on the GP team needs real chops when it comes to marketing to fill those units. But of course, there's too much to this business. It's too much of a mature industry for operations to normally be enough upside for the repositioner. So they're going to get a contractor team involved to do value adds. In other words, they're going to renovate the units. They're going to upgrade the units with the intention that the next residents will be more than happy to pay more each month in rent than the previous tenants were, and therefore you find more of that upside. But of course, that formula is not as simple as it sounds. Some people gold plate their toilets, but they're not going to get any return on investment. So you have to be careful with the contractor teams, especially if I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm from the internet. Okay, so I need locals. I need boots on the ground. I need somebody who lives an hour or two away from the property, because that will not be me. I would still be stuck at an airport in an hour or two. So I need to rely on these locals to keep an eye on the contractor team, make sure that they're keeping the schedule and they're not using subpar materials, and then also keep an eye on the operations to make sure that they're actually doing what they claim they are. But when the repositioner has the deal in hand, they turn around to a financier and say something along the lines of, hey, I got a 350 unit apartment complex and it's just tens of millions of dollars. You don't happen to have, I don't know, tens of millions of $100 you want to lend us, do you? Well, the financier is going to have some more questions in mind, and I haven't answered them yet. And if you're in a coaching program or a mentorship program, look out for this next one, because they tend to gloss over this piece. It's who's your sponsor? Who's the KP? What's that all about? Well, let's say hypothetically, this is the best way to explain it. Hypothetically, you're a physician or an attorney or an engineer or something like that, and you and your circle of friends decide, hey, why don't we take over that apartment complex right there? We'll just pool our 100K, 250K, whatever amount it is, together to do the down payment, and we'll take it over. What do you say? Well, the bank is going to say, who's your sponsor? And what that's all about is if you want to be eligible for a commercial loan on, say, a 350 unit apartment complex, well, somebody in the fold has to already own a similar asset. They have to own a 350 unit apartment complex, or else you're just not eligible. But on top of that, the KP part, it's also part of the balance sheet. But among the ownership team, you need to have a balance sheet of at least the amount of the loan, and you need a certain amount of liquidity. But if you got all those pieces, you got yourself a commercial real estate deal. So Abdul, I understand that you're going to be in charge of some deal sourcing and investor relations. I'm not sure what you have as far as asset management, and I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what do you expect to cover in your next deal?
So I expect to cover the investor relations portion of the deals that we get into. We already have a sponsor, and I don't think you harped enough on how important having a sponsor is, because if you're new to the space, no bank is just going to loan you any amount of money without knowing that there's some person who at least it has collateral, if not as much experience as possible, so that their money is secure. But yeah, I'm in the investor relations and capital raising portion of it. So after I have other teammates that do the acquisitions and the operations portion of it, and the asset management, but my part is just to build relations with investors and make sure that I can answer any questions that they have about the property and explain all the upside and the potential risks that are associated with the deal, and then helping them make an informed decision. Of course, it's their money at the end of the day, but we can do as much as we can to provide them with all the information possible about the property and the projections that we expect based on the value add that we're going to do and the force appreciation. But that's pretty much it. That's what I do.
All right, beautiful. And so then the next question then is the buy box. And when syndicators, buyers, investors are talking to each other and they're saying, hey, what you looking for? They're really talking about three things. The first one is geography. Where is it? Okay, you need to know which state, which county, possibly even which neighborhood. It's all going to matter, so that geography is going to be a deal breaker as far as what's ideal and what's not. The second one's size. Now, most of my guests on this show are in multifamily commercial real estate, which means apartment complexes. And the way that you define size in an apartment complex is by unit count. There are other forms of commercial real estate that goes by square footage, but you go by unit count, because you're going to have a completely different type of group that takes over like 8-unit apartment complexes compared to the 150, the 350 unit apartment complexes. So that size is definitely going to be important. But the third one, it's usually called class. You could call it desirability. It might be more an appropriate term, because class is split into two different things that I have different words for it. So the first one, though, is condition. So if you're talking about the condition, we're talking about how old is the building, how beat up is the building, and how many luxuries and amenities does that building really have? And that's so that's the condition side. But the area, on the other hand, that they're really asking about, what are the school districts like where this property is located? What about the crime rate where this property is located? But that it can, I'm mentioning location, and they say location, location, location in real estate. What they really mean is traffic, 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 because a place is going to become more valuable and more desirable if more people cross past it in a given day. But both the area and the condition, those two different forms of desirability, they're ranked the same way as in grade school, where you got A plus at the top, and then A, and
Yep.
then A minus, and then B plus, and so on. But Abdul, as far as you, your sponsor, your team, if you have a buy box, let's hear what's coming from them. But I also understand if you're kind of agnostic because you depend on your sponsor. But
Yeah. So our sponsor primarily is in Texas in the Dallas area. So we look for properties that were built after 1980, B B properties in B plus areas. And we normally invest anywhere, well, the size of the apartments, anywhere from 50 to 300 units. But those are the deals with my sponsor. But the deals that me and my team at Blue Moon Capital Investments, we're located in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we have boots on the ground already. So that's the area that we're in. Again, similar area, which is similar area in vintage. So 1980 and later, and then B properties in B plus areas. But we only tackle on our team 50 to 100 unit apartments.
mhm. Excellent, excellent. So then the next question has to do with people, and you already mentioned investor relations, so that's probably who you want to talk to mostly, but I imagine there's a few others. Me
Absolutely.
personally, because of my background in marketing and on these GP teams, I'm always eager to speak to more sponsors and KPs because they've got a foundation where a guy like me can make a big difference. Whereas if people don't really need to know what they're doing, then that's a different kind of person, and you need to look elsewhere. But as far as you're concerned, Abdul, so it's the financiers you're principally looking for, or is there somebody else?
Absolutely no, just more financiers, more accredited investors, and even unaccredited investors. I mean, we're probably going to do a similar interview like this so that the SEC doesn't flag us either. But
Right.
that's essentially all we're looking for. Just more people who have some extra cash on the side, who want to just get some tax benefits and defer any tax payments by investing into a multifamily apartment. Of course, there's a depreciation deduction that you have. So there's a lot of positive reasons as to why we're looking for accredited investors and non-accredited investors who have some money and want to grow their portfolio and diversify it and have asset classes that can produce substantial return if they want to wait 3 to 5 years, of course.
Right, right. Excellent, excellent. So if people are watching and they want to reach out, me, I got this distinct last name, makes it super easy to find me, especially on
Yeah,
LinkedIn's the easiest spot to find me. But if you scan this code right here on your screen with your phone, that brings you to the FAQs page of 506 BME, which is the platform where I offer that service, where I'll take care of your IT for you. And that is to document your substantive relations. The reason is because if you're involved in a 506B deal, especially if you get to a certain number in assets under management, the SEC will audit you. And the thing that they're going to look for is to make sure that you have documentation of those substantive relations so that you're not pitching people all willy-nilly. But Abdul, if people want to reach out to you, what are the best ways? Is it social media, phone, email? What is it?
yeah. Best way to do it would be to email at bluemooncapitalinvestments@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, Blue Moon Capital Investments. You can find us on LinkedIn, Blue Moon Capital Investments. You can find us on what else? Our website is almost up, so we're not going to shout that out, but you can just always email us at Blue Moon Capital Investments. That's all, man. That's also that's the sweetest business name ever, Blue Moon Capital Investments. Just know that the deals that we source and the opportunities we create happen only once in the blue moon.
Good stuff. I love it. All right. And then the last thing, then, it's actually not for you, Abdul. It's for you in the
Mm-hmm.
audience. It's my public service announcement. If you've been watching this episode and you've been experiencing searing pains in your eyeballs and like migraine-like symptom, it's probably the hideous subscribe button that's just down there, and you can get rid of that ugly thing. It's hideous. You can just click on it for free, and it's not it's like
Disappears.
exactly. Now, of course, I'm biased. I want people to click on it because if enough people do, then YouTube will start to pay for these videos instead of me. And I think that would be amazing. But the trade-off to you, just so we're clear, is that my videos may show up on your list of suggestions. But honestly, you can go ahead and ignore those suggestions. I just appreciate the fact that you spent this time with me. Just like Abdul, I appreciate you joining me today. This has been fun.
Absolutely, Dan. It's always a pleasure.
Sweet. Hey there, are you interested in commercial real estate deals? Would you like to build your network of investors and deal sponsors? Well, the best thing I can do for you is have you appear on a chance encounter interview as featured on dandoesdeals.com. You may know me from 506B or as a top commercial real estate voice on LinkedIn. And if I had to think of the top factors in your success in commercial real estate, my top two would be your network and your ability to effectively explain how deals work with effective communication. The 15-minute chance encounter format, it checks both of those boxes, and they ensure that you can share your private deals with me without the SEC calling it a public solicitation. So hop onto LinkedIn. You can see my name is over here, Dan Friedenberg, and search for my name. And the best way to reach me and book that is to message me through LinkedIn. And don't worry, it doesn't matter if you decided to enter this space just last week or 2 weeks ago, or if it was decades ago. It'll be fun and easy to look good. We're just asking multiple choice questions based on your core competencies you look to contribute, your level of sophistication, all that kind of stuff. So I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye. Make sure you 506B me. Any syndicators, make sure you 506B me.
Hi.
Oh, hey, yeah, here's my code. You got your QR code scanner? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, just hold it right in the square there. Okay, cool. And now you hit open in browser.
Okay.
Okay. Are you already logged into 506BME?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so there's my video. So now I'm already on your watch list. So when you get back to your hotel, you can find out what my core competencies are and my level of sophistication. Sound good?
Yeah.
I love your hat. Real estate's a scam. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
506BME, everybody.